Hopefully by now you have had a look at our first look walk around or first look review video where we've talked about the XEV9S's exterior, interior, practicality, safety features, etc, etc. But now let's get on to the drive experience, and let's begin with the one thing that stands out as a difference versus what we've experienced in the B6 as well as the XEV9E itself, and that is the ride quality. Now, the suspension setup is basically the same as what you have in those other cars, but one key difference is this one, even if you get the fully loaded version of the XEV9S, rides on 18-inch wheels. So it's a different profile of tire and wheel that you're getting with this car. The good thing with the suspension setup is it is decidedly set up towards comfort. It gives you good bump absorption if you're going through ridges or uneven stretches on city speeds while driving through your daily office commute. At that time, you're fine. But the second the speeds pick up a little bit, what you'll find is, especially in everyday or range mode, the car does feel a touch too soft. Right now, we're driving through the roads of Nandi Hills, and they're about as well paved as they can get. These are asphalt roads. Although the leveling is a little bit up and down, but right now, even though I am in race mode, which is where you're supposed to have the stiffest possible suspension experience, you're still picking up on these undulations, and it just feels like it's taking a touch too long to recover. Now, normally, when you have a soft suspension setup, it's something that you experience more so when you're in the second and third row. But here in the XEV9S, I can feel it even in the driver's seat. So when you go through expansion joints or you come across speed breakers, there's about a stroke or two of suspension that feels like it could have been managed better. And this is a behavioral pattern that you won't really be that bothered by when you're driving at regular city speeds or on well-paved and level roads. But the second you get onto concrete roads, bumpy surfaces like you have on the Mumbai-Pune Expressway or the Samruddhi Mahamarg, on those places, it's definitely going to make longer journeys feel a touch more taxing, especially for people who tend to get nauseated a little bit more easily. More on this from the second row from Arun.
Okay, so here's what you need to know about the second row experience in terms of ride comfort. For the large part, I'd say it's comfortable. If you're looking at a chauffeur-driven city SUV, you might not really have any big issues with the way the suspension is set up. But like Tushar mentioned, when you encounter a stretch that is undulated, that isn't particularly smooth, you'd pick on quite a lot of vertical movement at the rear, and in fact more so in the third row. It feels like the cabin takes its own sweet time to kind of settle down back into the flat ride that it should have. Now, I had better expectations from the XEV9S because it's running 18s, it's got a fatter sidewall, it does not have 19s or 20s like the B6 and the XEV9E. So expectations in terms of ride comfort was slightly higher, but I think the ride is a bit of a mixed bag. The other bit that I'd want to point out is, Tushar, you remember when I was driving, you were in the rear seat, and we had another occupant in the third row, right? The only test that I was doing was I was trying to dance out of my lane just a little bit, say maybe that, right? And if you can pick that up, you notice me swing side to side. That effect is a little more pronounced than I would have liked. If Mahindra could have controlled this body movement a little better, I feel it would have been even more enjoyable, not just for the family as a whole, but also for the driver.
Now, Arun, one of the surprises that we got with this car is that the Pack 2 is available with a brand new battery pack option. Why don't you run us through all the options and what kind of range we can realistically expect from them?
Right. Unlike the B6 and the XEV9E that have a 59 and a 79 kilowatt hour battery pack option, the XEV9S gets an additional 70 kilowatt hour battery pack. 69 would have been a nice joke, just saying. Anyway, so the Pack 1 is available with a 59 and a 79. The Pack 2 gets a 70 and 79, whereas the Pack 3 gets just the 79 kilowatt hour battery pack. Power ranges from 230 odd horsepower with the smaller battery to 280 282 horsepower on
85
the
to 85.
285 horsepower on the larger battery. And the claimed range is quite interesting, right? So for the smallest battery pack, Mahindra claims 521, and that's not happening. In our experience, the 59 kilowatt hour battery pack should realistically return somewhere between 400 to 420 kilometers of range on a full charge. Mahindra is claiming 600 kilometers for the 70 kilowatt hour battery pack. Again, I think a more realistic number there would be around 450 to 470 odd kilometers to a full charge. And on the 79 kilowatt hour battery pack, Mahindra is claiming 679 kilometers of range, which, if I'm not mistaken, is marginally better than the XEV9E as well. But as we've tested the XEV9E over a very long and painful day, that video is linked in the description as well. Please check that out. A taxi driver also crashes into me in that video, so you must check it out. 500 kilometers of range is what we got. So anywhere between 400 to 500 kilometers of range is something you can realistically expect from the XEV9S in normal conditions, not being driven like a saint. If you drive with some extra care and caution, these numbers can most definitely go up.
Outside of that, this is going to be a relatively short video when it comes to the drive experience. It's nothing unfamiliar compared to what we've already seen in the XEV9E. So performance is brisk when you need it to be, and smooth for the most part when you're driving in any given drive mode. Honestly speaking, you do have the options of everyday, range, default and race mode. But if you just stick to your typical default or everyday modes, it'll manage 99.99999% of any given driving scenario. That includes driving through at city speeds, by going on the highway, and of course, because it's an EV and transmission is super duper smooth and immediate, 0 to 100 in the claimed 7 seconds with this car, driving with a full passenger load with a 7-seater like this becomes that much more hassle-free. Then we come to the noise insulation, which is again a very strong point with this car, so it's definitely something that keeps you quite comfortable. You do have multiple brake energy regen modes to choose from. So there's L0, 1, 2, 3. There's also L Auto, which uses the ADAS cameras to calibrate your regen braking based on the vehicles that are in front of you, and it's relatively usable. As an extension to that, ADAS in itself is also quite usable, quite India-friendly, as we've experienced in the XEV as well as the B6. I must say that there are certain scenarios where you're going to come across expressways or highways where traffic patterns are quite dense. In those scenarios, if you have adaptive cruise control running, the distances between cars are a little bit more intimate than most people or most ADAS setups would be comfortable with. In those scenarios, yes, ADAS over here can land up dabbing the brakes where otherwise you would have just been comfortable purely coasting. But outside of that, lane keep assist, lane follow assist, adaptive cruise control, all of the systems function exactly as intended. 6 airbags, of course, come as standard: ABS with EBD, ESC, PUC, all of those abbreviations, every single thing you're going to get PUC, you don't need it. And you also get 7 airbags once you move up to the top end variant. So overall, fantastic drive experience with this car. The only thing that I would have liked to see improved is the ride. And if you want to know everything else there is to know about the XEV9E, watch the video linked in the description, or otherwise you can find it on our channel as well. And for more of the latest details on the XEV9E, any changes made to this car or any other car, log on to zigwheels.com.